So, another video talking about the past. This one talking about what was the strongest tournament ever played, and what happened when all the best players played in the same tournament. There's a bunch of ways you could measure this. Oops. Uh, I chose one. First of all, what I did was Doc Evil played very few tournaments. I took the four players. I think these are clearly the four best ever by decent margin. And I took every tournament where they all played in the same tournament in which they all completed all of their games. So no one lost by activity at any point in these tournaments. And then I booted the Team Rhinoa tournaments. Massive credit to Demonic and Slash for winning Rhinoa 5. That really is one of the just most incredible runs. Brilliant work by them. And Nightwish and Patriot winning Rhinoa 6. This left us with 8 tournaments that had the big 4 in it. And then I thought, how much of the next 6 can I fill out? If we exclude Doc Evil, this is our top 10 all time. Can we get Great Sephiroth, Nightwish, MC, Kamikaze, Konar, and Slash of Time? I thought, all of them sort of overlapped with the same time period. There's a chance. And it turns out that I typoed here. 2 tournaments had all of the top 10, and some of the other 6 were kind of close. So I was surprised at just how many tournaments actually had all 10. If we look at the ones that were close, I had initially miscounted that there were 3, and that's because I thought Irvine was one, but Great Sephiroth went out by activity. But Irvine is one of the really impressive tournaments won. Shout out to Delial. We have Sid, which missed Kamikaze, and Nightwish lost by activity, which is a pattern we're going to see. Squall almost got there, just missing Nightwish. Ward did not come close. Nightwish lost by activity, but it was also missing 3 other members. Triad Wars 10 almost got there, but Nightwish lost by activity. And Quistis had 6, and there were lots of things. So there's only one exclusion where Nightwish wasn't part of why it missed. Nightwish didn't play some tournaments, but also often, particularly in the early rounds, never showed up. That said, Nightwish is an all-time legend. This is not to criticize or go after Nightwish. Nightwish is great. This leaves us with 2 tournaments. But first, who won those? Delial won Irvine, Great Sephiroth, Kamikaze, Seto, Yojimbo, and Yojimbo again won the others that came close. But so as you can see, when the top 10 all play, they tend to win. Every time the top 10 all play, or every time that the top 4 players all played in a tournament together, someone in the top 10 won it. Scythe, Metis, and Chickeny came closest to stopping this from being true. Of course, all legends in their own right. They all made the finals, while Sir Smokes and Piggy made the semis twice in these tournaments, and Doomtrain and Vid also made it to the semifinals in these really top tier tournaments. So in these 6, because again, we're separating these 6 off from the full 8, because we're going to talk about the 2 that had all 10 differently. With 6 to 9 of the top 10, those players were 75% of the semifinal spots, 75% of the final spots, and 100% of tournament wins. In these last 2 we're about to look at with all 10, they also had 75% of final spots, but won every semi match and every finals match. So let's talk about the big 2 tournaments. I decided not to show them in chronological order, but rather to do the one I think is less impressive first and more impressive second. So the first of our big 2 tournaments that had all 10 of the top players of all time is SE Barrett. None of the big names went out round 1. Round 1 was mostly buys anyway. There wasn't a ton of matches. No big names went out there, nor did any in round 2 when they all started playing. In round 3, Slash goes out to the Piggyman, who we've seen has done quite well in these tournaments with top players, and Delial went out to Was Up. Round 4, we got a bunch beaten. Yojimbo got upset by Addy, Kamikaze lost to MC, and Great Sephiroth lost to Was Up. But Was Up went out to MC next, and Konar lost to Sir Smokes, leaving 2 of them left. Both of them made it to the finals, beating Sir Smokes and Focus, and it was one of those MC versus Nightwish finals. Somehow, MC ended up winning. So Barrett's a hard tournament to be all that hyped about. There's some fun here. Addy's win over Yojimbo is one of the great upsets. Obviously, Addy's a good player, but Addy's a much better open player than he was then. He's played. I mean, this might not be true. I don't really know how much open and closed he played, but his other results around then made this a huge upset, and I think he is a substantially better open player now than he was then. But if he says, no, he was really good then too, and just happened not to have too many tournament runs, I would believe that. He would know much better than I would. But this is to say, obviously that's a big upset. And it's a fun tournament, but every time the Polish brothers faced each other, that was you know makes this not as exciting an event. Which brings us to, I think, a very good case for being the kind of most competitive, coolest tournament ever. We have Triad Wars 8. So Delial beats Kamikaze, and this is going to start a chain of the Big Teners only lost to others in the Big Ten in this tournament, which I think is a cool way to have this Big Ten go. Delial gets also the second knockout between Big Ten players, beating Slash of Time. Round 3, I got just destroyed by MC, and Seto beat Yojimbo. And that meant in the quarterfinals, 6 of the 8 of them were top 10 all-time players. Delial finally goes out, losing to Seto, while Nightwish loses to Great Sephiroth, and we have a semifinals of Great Sephiroth versus Seto and MC versus Koner. It's pretty strong semifinals. Now, given that semifinals, you might have a sense of where this is going, even if you don't remember the results. And MC defeated Koner, and Seto beat everyone, beating Great Sephiroth and then beating MC in the finals. I think this is probably just the strongest field of all time. You look at other players in it. Not everyone's at their peak or anything, but just looking at the names, Vid, Cookie, Turds, Chicken Easter, Smoke, Scythe, Kazik, Bren, Grat, Jadat, Ray, Homer, Yevon. This is, not only does it have all of the top 10, but its next 10 players are pretty damn good, right? And I think, unsurprisingly, given how strong the field was, Seto's win here has a good case for being the greatest championship ever won and the greatest tournament ever won, Triad Wars 8. I've done a bunch of different rankings of best tournaments won. This is certainly up there. I'm not sure it should be the number one, depends how you look at it, but it certainly could be, and this only helps cement that case. Really well done to Seto. I think this is a really interesting one because it's in 2010, and one of the reasons that it had the strongest field is 2010 is the era when there was kind of the greatest conglomeration of talent, in my opinion. This field, and SE Barrett, I think, was also 2010. It's not coincidental both these tournaments happened in 2010. It's when a ton of the best players were playing. Koner was towards the end of his really dominant period, but still excellent. Seto was playing intermittently, but had a great year. MC and Nightwish were at their absolute best. I was coming off the best year of my career. Deli was in a slight down period between two peaks, but very, very good, as you could see from who he knocked out. Great Sephiroth was basically at his absolute best. Slash of Time was coming off his best year. Yojimbo wasn't quite at his best, but was starting to hit his best. So I think overall, Triad Wars 8 is probably the most impressive field, not only ever seen, but that we ever have a chance to see. We're never going to see anything like this again. And it was a great tournament. It was also the first time that Seto beat Delial in a tournament, if we go back. Seto beats Delial. It was the first time he beat him in Open. Delial had beaten him twice in Open when they were both hitting peaks a couple years before. So Seto beats his toughest opponent and, yeah, takes down. Tremendous victory.